Bellamy is a successful West Coast entrepreneurista in the retail analytics and consulting space. She couldn't quite get past what it meant to download a wallet and literally stack her first sats. See if she gets past these problems and stacks her first sats right here on the show. It's Bellamy. Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stewart, Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus, proud multi-coiner, Bitcoin smash buyer. Whatever you're doing right now, I don't care what it is. You need to stop, go to YouTube, head to Sat Chats, and hit the subscribe button. We are giving away 1 million sats to one of our first 1,000 subscribers. And once we get to 1,000, we're going to be unlocking a live show Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're hoping that we can get that done by the time number 99, Kristen, Stewart's wife, comes on the show, because we would love to do that live with her. Although I don't know if you've asked her if she's okay with that yet, but
she didn't shoot it down. She didn't shoot it down. Right. So smash the subscribe. Each time you do, a Bitcoiner gets his laser eyes. We are on the road to number 99, Kristen, my wife. So send us your women so that I can practice and train like Rocky IV up the mountainside. My wife is like Drago. She's in the gym. She's using all the technique. I'm lifting stones and carts. I'm punching hillsides. Okay. I'm trying to get ready. And our guest today, Bellamy, is going to help me train on the road to number 99. Bellamy has got some Bitcoin and has not yet taken any into self-custody. She's got some questions about Bitcoin we're going to be answering today. Before we do, Bellamy, help our satillionaires get to know you a little bit.
My name is Bellamy, and I currently live in San Diego, California. And professionally, I'm a consultant for direct-to-consumer brands and operations.
Whoa. So you might, for example, partner with a hummus company that was selling its hummus directly to consumers.
I would. However, I actually specialize more in apparel, high SKU count. CPG is lower SKU count, and it's a little bit less complex to plan.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because Chris gave me a T-shirt yesterday that was like a Ithaca Hummus Grassa collab number, and it was a Hanes beefy tee extra large, because the influencers only want extra large T-shirts, and it was so comfortable. You know, you're talking about retail. It was such a comfortable T-shirt. Now I hate all my other clothing because it's too tight and it fits me too nicely. I want a bunch of oversized stuff now.
Yeah.
Like I was putting on this sweater. I was like, this sweater sucks.
Yeah.
So you're in that retail. You're in apparel. You said so, like clothing.
Yes, clothing and home.
Clothing and home.
Clothing is. I mean, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. The apparel industry scares the crap out of me because of what you're. I mean, all the sizes and the. You know, there are all these companies now that have made the return and exchange process easier and better and cheaper and more optimized and efficient. I mean, it is just a whole big world. So I have a lot of respect for what you're saying. It's just not the same as, like, you know, if you were selling bottles of olive oil it's a little bit more of a one size fits all thing.
Mm-hmm. So, Bellamy, how much do you know about Bitcoin?
Well, I guess it's all relative, but I'd say in the group I'm in right now, probably very little.
Okay. How about this? How do you feel when you think about Bitcoin? What kind of feelings or thoughts or emotions come up when you hear that term?
I feel like it's pretty varied because I know a lot of people that have done very well in Bitcoin, but then I know a lot of people that are incredibly skeptical of it. So I feel like I've heard all of the opinions, which is why I think myself have a mixed opinion on if it's worth investing in. But I will say, when I first started thinking about investing it, it was less than $20,000. So seeing where it's gone since then has made me more curious to see and to learn more.
Okay. Right. And I'm the same way, where I was introduced to it 8 years ago when it was like on its way up to 20,000, and I ignored it. But then, each time you go back to it, it's higher, it's more. So then it's kind of like, well, what is going on here? Before we started taping, you mentioned that you do have some Bitcoin, quote unquote, through some type of service or portfolio, but haven't taken any into self-custody yet. Can you help our Statillionaires understand like what platform you went through, and, for someone who might not be ready to kind of take Bitcoin into their own control, but they still want some exposure, like what did you do to get some exposure?
Yes, so I currently use a platform called Betterment. That's where I had my high interest savings account. So it felt like it makes sense. For me, it was a trusted platform that I'd used for many years. I think about a year ago, they started offering the crypto fund, if you will, and you can pick different levels of investing. The one that I'm invested in is Bitcoin and Ethereum. The most intimidating thing for me always seemed like the wallet. I mean, how do you get it? How do you manage it? And then I feel like I've heard so many sensationalized stories of people losing their passcode to their wallet. So it just seemed difficult.
Okay. And I love that. Let's focus on that for a minute, Bellamy, because we believe strongly in this idea of taking care of your own Bitcoin. And as a show for beginners, we recognize that almost everyone listening who has never stacked their first sats will likely do so with some help from an exchange like Coinbase or River or Strike, where you kind of go on to the app and you connect your bank account, you quote unquote buy some Bitcoin, and they say, okay, you've got 5 million sats, way to go, right? But you don't really have it the same way somebody who stores those same 5 million sats on their wallet has it, right? It's like buying Ithaca hummus and then putting it in your friend's fridge instead of buying Ithaca hummus and putting it in your fridge. You don't quite have the same access, even though it's still there. So wallets can seem a little tricky, and I felt a little scared setting up my first wallet as well. But it really comes down to being about as easy as downloading an app and signing up for it, whether it's a banking app or a social media app or even the Uniqlo app, right? If you're trying to get some of that apparel. So let me ask you this, Bellamy, what is your main device? As an elder millennial, I do all my real work on a laptop that's connected to a bigger screen with a keyboard and a mouse. It's basically like a laptop that I've turned into a desktop. But my nephew, Johnny, the dude lives on his phone. I don't think he's used a non-phone device, for anything important in his life. So what's your main device that you're most comfortable with?
I have the same setup for my computer, but I'd say probably my phone.
Okay. So if you're most comfortable on your phone, let's talk about wallets for your phone. And here on Sat Chats, when we offer you your choice of $50 or $50 worth of Bitcoin, if you choose to stack those sats with us on the show, then 24 hours later, you get an email from us that says, hey, it's time for you to get your sats, right? And we wanted to choose one of the easiest possible wallets for our brand new Satillionaires to use. Because again, it's a barrier to entry, right? So we chose Blue Wallet for our guests who have never used a wallet before in their lives. There are many smartphone wallets that are good and clean and easy to use. But the one that I chose just through some cursory, scanning of BTC sessions was Blue Wallet. So here's how it works. You're going to go, I'm going to say you have like an iPhone.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. So you would go to, your Apple store, you search for Blue Wallet, you download Blue Wallet. The first time you open up Blue Wallet, it pretty much just has one screen, and it's got a big plus button that says create wallet, right? So you hit that button, and then it's going to show you 12 words. These 12 words, they are your seed phrase. You have got to take this step very seriously. We can't really sanitize that for you or put any kind of guardrails on it. It is the one moment where you have to demonstrate responsibility and care. But Bitcoin, as Chris says, rewards responsibility. So what do you do with those 12 words? You put them somewhere safe. You'll be instructed by the app to basically write these 12 words down on like a sheet of paper. And then you put that paper somewhere super safe. Maybe you laminate it. Maybe you tuck it into a safe box or something. Later on in your journey, you might choose to hammer those words into titanium and store them somewhere. But to get yourself started, you write those 12 words down, you store them somewhere safe. Why do you write those 12 words down? Well, because you need them to get back into your wallet if you end up losing access to it somehow. So you mentioned stories of people who basically lose access to their wallets, right?
Right. I feel like, especially in the early days of Bitcoin, people who are like lost their computers and they're looking through the dump to find it.
What's interesting about that is if you think about the early days of Bitcoin, we were at a Raleigh Bitcoin meetup last week, and we were speaking with some people who were the very first miners of Bitcoin. And back in that time, like, they didn't know what it was. It wasn't worth anything, so they just had these like credits, these Bitcoins on a computer. So it wasn't taken as seriously as it is today. So I feel like you do hear that a lot, but if you contextualize it by like, what was it like back then, it's a little bit easier to understand. But yeah, the seed phrase is very, very important.
Yeah, it's basically your key to get back into your wallet no matter what. To Chris's point, in the early days, we call them bare metal Bitcoiners. They had to store they had to take their keys and put them in a file on their computer. So when they threw away their computer or it got lost in a dump, that was it. It was gone. But in today's world, Bellamy, those 12 words are basically a key that will get you back in no matter what. You could have that wallet on your phone and your phone could get run over by a car and then picked up by a seagull there on the pier and then flown out into the ocean and dropped, right? And then swallowed by a whale and it's gone. You will be able to go to any smartphone you want or any laptop you want, download a wallet.
Any wallet. Doesn't have to be the same one.
Any old wallet, and it'll say, hey, Bellamy, what's going on? Do you want to create a wallet or do you want to restore a wallet? And you'll say, well, I want to restore a wallet. And they'll say, okay, great. What are your 12 words? And you'll say beep, beep, bop, bop, boop. And then bam, you're back in business. So the scariness of taking care of your own Bitcoin has largely been, has largely disappeared in today's world.
Let me tell you one other thing about the seed phrase, which was confusing for me. I was hung up on like, well, why? I didn't understand like why it was a seed phrase. But all this is 12 words. They're approximately anywhere from like 3 to 6 or 7 characters each. And if you think about it, it's just a way of organizing a very long string of text. They break it up into these 12 words that phonically make sense to us so that plausibly, if you wanted to, you could memorize them. And that means you could store your Bitcoin literally in your head. If you just walk around with those 12 memorized seed words, it's kind of like, how do you memorize a really long number? Well, you break it up into chunks, and then you repeat those chunks and write it down. So that's all a seed phrase is. It's just a way of organizing a very, very long string of characters.
So let's stop there. How do you feel about that?
That is fine. I guess I have questions about the wallet itself. So I understand that there's different platforms in which you can access the wallet, but there's not just, one place where your wallet exists. You have to go through apps or different companies to access it.
Well, so you might be, I wonder if you're thinking about not necessarily the wallet itself, but the process of buying your own Bitcoin and sending it to the wallet. Because if you have a wallet on your smartphone, there is your wallet. It's right there. And you access it by opening your smartphone and opening the app, right? But if you want to buy some Bitcoin, then yeah, you do got to figure out where you want to go. So
you would go to an exchange to buy Bitcoin. So the exchange is where you buy and sell Bitcoin. The wallet is where you store and send Bitcoin from.
Yeah, so maybe you would go to Strike. That's another really easy smartphone app. And you would buy the Bitcoin on Strike, and then you would say, okay, I want you to send the Bitcoin that I've bought to my wallet so that it doesn't stay with Strike, it stays with you.
Got it. So are any of the platforms both, or are they always separate?
Are any exchanges also wallets? Not really.
Not if your plan is to custody your own Bitcoin. If you're okay with a company like Coinbase custodying the Bitcoin for you, it's a way easier, it's much easier to interface with the Bitcoin network through a company like Coinbase. But the important thing that we just try to help everyone understand is that you're trading convenience for security in that case, right? Because then someone else is custodying your Bitcoin. Like, what happens if the government shuts down Coinbase and automatically seizes all of their assets? Your Bitcoin's going to go with that. And how real of a risk is that? Probably not very high, but we just like people to go into it with eyes wide open.
Got it. And then I actually felt like I had a lot of questions during your intro because I didn't know there were different denominations of Bitcoin. So is it the same terminology across all the coins, or is there different denominations?
When you say all the coins, do you mean like Bitcoin being one and XRP being a different?
Right.
Yeah. So Bitcoins are divisible into Satoshis, or we call them sats. There's 100 million Satoshis in every one Bitcoin. That terminology is Bitcoin specific.
Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. And so in honor of him or her or they, or we don't even know what, they felt like the smaller unit should be called a Satoshi in that person's honor. So each Bitcoin is composed of 100 million Satoshis or sats. And we focus on sats because one Bitcoin is $78,000. And I personally don't have $78,000 laying around to buy a Bitcoin, but I do have $78 that I can use to buy, 78,000 sats this week, right? And kind of march my way to becoming a satillionaire, which is, what we use to talk about having 1 million sats to your name. Ethereum, I don't understand how that works. XRP, I don't understand how that works. On this show, we feel like Bitcoin is Bitcoin and crypto is kryptonite. We don't mess with that. Some of them have their applications or their utility, but they're not money the same way Bitcoin is money. So, we can speak to Bitcoin breaking down into smaller pieces, but we don't know about the rest. So what other questions did the intro to the show spark for you?
Well, that was the main one because I didn't know it was broken down. The other question that I had just in general was, I feel like every time I go through just the general education to learn about Bitcoin, it seems like it's so secure, but then you hear about all of these scams and whatnot that are happening where things are stolen. So I don't really understand how that happens within the blockchain.
Okay. So is Bitcoin secure? The answer is yes. It's the most secure money that we've ever had as a human race. And this is because Bitcoin lives out in the open. The blockchain is basically a big fat spreadsheet in the sky that records every single transaction in the world of Bitcoin since the beginning of all time. And every single person on earth can look at every single transaction if they want. Compare and contrast that to the United States government. I mean, can you imagine going and saying, please, sir, can you give me a record of everything you've done ever since the beginning of all time? They'd say, no, commoner, get back to work. Right?
Or compare that to the book of transactions at Bernie Madoff's hedge fund. Like, let's say you invested in a hedge fund. Like, you're not going to get the level of detail or anywhere near the transparency that you would with Bitcoin.
So Bitcoin is secure because it's transparent, number one. You do not need to trust Bitcoin because Bitcoin will give you everything that you want to know about it, right? It's also secure, Bellamy, because you need computing power to run Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is run by computers around the world that are all doing this work together. Right now, there are 20,000 computers worldwide that each have a copy of every single transaction that's ever been performed on the Bitcoin network. There are also an untold number of specialized machines that are doing the work of mining new Bitcoin. And what this means is that you have something like 20 or 21 nuclear reactors worth of computing power that are all laser focused on supporting Bitcoin. Now, if you want to attack Bitcoin, then you need at least 1/2 of the network's power. Since Bitcoin runs on everyone agreeing that things are happening correctly, like, yep, did that transaction happen? Yes, it did. I'm checking it. Okay, we're all looking at each other's work. You would need 51% of the network to be able to bully everyone into agreeing with you. So what does that mean? Well, you would need 10 nuclear reactors worth of power at your disposal. And actually, you would need more than that, because if you added 10 nuclear reactors, you would now have 30 and you would only have 1/3.
Yeah.
So you actually need 20 nuclear reactors worth of computing power at your disposal that you would then add to the network to start saying, hey, this transaction didn't happen, this transaction did. Who has 20 nuclear reactors worth? Which single nation state has 20 nuclear reactors worth of computing power
sitting idle,
let alone some random smelly bro in a hoodie in his mom's basement? He doesn't. You can't do it.
No,
you can't do it. And by the way, Bellamy, once you got to that level, you would say, you know what? I don't even want to attack Bitcoin anymore, because if I have 50% of the power, I'm going to solve 50% of the blocks. I'm going to get 50% of the Bitcoin. I'm going to get rich.
I'm just going to mine it.
I don't even want to attack this anymore. I just want to get rich with the rest of you guys.
Yeah.
So it's very secure, but scams. Why scams?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because humans have been scamming one another since the beginning of all time. And no matter what technology you adopt, some loser is going to decide it's easier to scam you than to do an honest day's work. So, you know, in today's world, you get text messages from people that are like saying, hey, Bellamy, real quick, it's your CEO. I'm in a meeting. I can't talk, but I need you to go get 3 gift cards and send them to me. Right. And you immediately reject that because you're an entrepreneurista and you are your own CEO, and you can't, you know that you don't want to send yourself gift cards. But people are out there using whatever means they can to scam you. Send me gift cards, send me cash. My poor mom thought she was getting a job one day, and they said, all you got to do is go and buy like a Mac, and then we'll reimburse. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, they're going to try to scam you with gift cards. They're going to try to scam you with cash. They're going to try to scam you with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, with XRP, anything that they can. That's why. It's not Bitcoin, it's human.
So based on that, does that mean because it will require more computing power to mine, that in the future it'll actually be more secure?
Oh, yeah. Bellamy, from the 3-point line. Bitcoin is this incredible geodesic dome. Are you familiar with geodesic domes?
I'm not.
It's this magical real world structure that only gets stronger the bigger it is. Unlike skyscrapers that get wobbly as they get taller and taller, this geodesic dome is this strange structure that's put together in a way that the bigger it gets, the stronger it gets. Bitcoin is the same way. When a computer comes online to try to mine a block, when a computer comes online to keep its own copy of that big fat spreadsheet in the sky, Bitcoin gets stronger. Bitcoin gets stronger. The more computers, the stronger Bitcoin is, the more secure it is, the more impossible it would be to even get close to having enough power to attack it.
I want to make sure we talk about some of like the real headline making scams in Bitcoin have been mostly exchanges. So we talked about Coinbase, they're an exchange. I think you brought up Strike, that's an exchange. Bitcoin Well is an exchange. And these are all legitimate, as far as we know today, good, wholesome, well-meaning and operating exchanges. But there have been exchanges like FTX, if you've heard of Sam Bankman-Fried, his exchange, OneCoin, BitConnect, Mt. Gox. These are all examples of exchanges that were buying and selling Bitcoin, custodying Bitcoin on behalf of other people. And they were operating nefariously in one way or another. So it's really the crack in the system is at the exchange level. So it's really important that you choose the right exchange, and we can help you with that. And there are lots of resources out there to help decipher what the right decision is. But the fraud has not been with Bitcoin itself, right? It's like saying all hedge funds are bad because Bernie Madoff was a bad actor. You know, he's one bad apple, but doesn't mean that the entire hedge fund concept or ecosystem is wholly bad.
That makes sense. My other question is about, I guess, Bitcoin worldwide. Did other countries, what is their sentiment on it?
Okay.
Love
Okay.
this topic.
These are great questions, Bellamy.
Really good.
So what do other countries think about Bitcoin? Well, it's a multifaceted thing. So let's start with countries that don't like Bitcoin. Who hates Bitcoin? The European Union hates Bitcoin. They do not like Bitcoin because they have the euro. They do whatever they want with the euro. And they're even trying to make a digital euro that they can control even more than the euro that's the real one, the paper and the coin, right? So the European Union is a governmental organization that feels like Bitcoin as an alternative form of money threatens them and their money. So they do not like it. However, even inside the European Union, there are places that do like it, namely the Czech Republic, which has passed some Bitcoin-friendly laws. And I would love to go and live in Prague because you can have a fantastic Bitcoin life there. All right. What are some countries that are fairly neutral on Bitcoin? Probably most of them right now. The ones that aren't actively against it or actively for it, they're all kind of just like, well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of get it. They're like most regular people. These countries are like, right? They're like, I don't know. It kind of seems, but is it a little scam? We're just let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of countries are kind of just neutral. There are some countries that are starting to see that Bitcoin could help them get out from underneath the United States being such a big old gorilla in their face. These countries are Russia, Brazil, India, China, and I believe Saudi Arabia is the S in BRICS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Bellamy, Russia invaded Ukraine. The United States was like, hey, you bad. And then they froze Russia's assets and they kicked Russia out of the international payment system between banks. It's called SWIFT. Have you heard of SWIFT?
Yes.
Okay. So Russia was like, bro, we need to be able to transact with other countries, but we can't use the SWIFT system. Well, what are we going to do? Well, whether you like it or not, whether you like Russia or Brazil or India, Bitcoin offers a neutral way to transact with one another. Since Bitcoin is electronic peer-to-peer cash, and I don't need anybody's permission to send you your sats. Let's say you stack your sats at the end of the show, Bellamy. I don't have to go through a bank. I don't have to go through a credit card processor. I don't have to go through a nation state. I can pull out my smartphone and send the sats right to your smartphone. No permission required. So if you're a country that just got kicked out of a system where you need permission to transact, a system where you don't need permission to transact seems pretty sweet. Now, there are countries that go even further than recognizing that Bitcoin has some utility. They freaking love Bitcoin. There are some nation states that love Bitcoin, and there are two of them that I am thinking about right now, Bellamy. The first is the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, which has a big fat waterfall that is carrying the snow melt down to the lower lying areas. And that waterfall has a ton of power. Bhutan has a hydroelectric dam, and it is creating so much power that they can't even use all of it. They can't even use all of it. It's more than they know what to do with. So what they do, Bellamy, they said, you know what? Let's take all this extra energy and we'll use it to mine Bitcoin, because we can't get any value out of this unused energy now. But if we use it to mine Bitcoin and then we store that Bitcoin, we can spend that Bitcoin later when we need it. We can basically store the unused energy for the future. And they quietly mined enough Bitcoin to create what is now 1/3 of their nation's entire wealth. So let me stop right there before I list out my top nation state. How do you feel about that rundown through hate it to neutral to seems good to we love it and we're going to use our waterfall to mine it.
I mean, that's actually pretty impressive to use the extra power and mine the Bitcoin. That's very smart.
Yeah, because it's just going to go bad otherwise. You can't store energy.
But some of the poorest countries in the world are actually the most energy dense. They're the closest to the equator. They have more geothermal nuclear power naturally as a natural resource. So Bitcoin is there are some people who just kind of read the book cover and they don't read the whole book, and they're like, oh, well, Bitcoin is bad for the environment. It's not green. It couldn't be further from the truth. Right? It helps countries that could produce and become a global energy power if they could only send electricity far enough. It helps them climb the ranks and work themselves out of poverty, which is pretty amazing.
So the top nation state, Bellamy, currently at this time is El Salvador, which is run by their president, Nayib Bukele, who I affectionately call the Lisan al-Naib, which is a play on Dune's Lisan al-Gaib, because this dude is the absolute savior of the world. He's a human being, so he's made choices that are good and not good. And there are things about El Salvador that you might not agree with, like their insane prison they have down there. But from a Bitcoin perspective, Nayib Bukele gets it. El Salvador runs on the US dollar. That is their official currency. But I think in 2020, Nayib announced that El Salvador would have two official currencies. One would be the US dollar. The other would be Bitcoin. Not only does El Salvador do like Bhutan does, but also they just buy Bitcoin. So they have volcanoes in El Salvador that are just pumping out geothermal energy. Nayib has strapped miners to the volcano. He's not using a waterfall. He's using a freaking volcano.
Wild.
To power the computers that are mining Bitcoin for El Salvador. But also with any money he has, any money that El Salvador has, he's buying 1 Bitcoin a day. Every single day, he buys 1 Bitcoin for El Salvador. Unlike the United States that says, trust me, bro, our gold is in Fort Knox. Well, can we see it? Of course you can't see it. El Salvador has published the address for their wallet. So anyone can go and see how much Bitcoin does El Salvador have. He's buying 1 a day every day. He has for years and years. And he is slowly taking El Salvador from a poor, corrupt, unclean place to this shining beacon of the Central American future.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah. I mean, think about a small nation state in Central America, like slowly turning itself into Wakanda.
Very cool.
It's crazy.
It is cool.
So, that was a lot right there. And you kind of got me, a lot of times I keep it real cool, Bellamy, but every once in a while, someone like you comes on and I get way fired up about Bitcoin.
You know what it is? I mean, Bellamy is engaged in this conversation. They're good questions. And it just so happens that we have the answers to them, which is always nice.
So how do you feel about Bitcoin now that we've talked a little bit about how easy it is to get your own wallet set up, and the fact that there is a growing number of countries, for goodness sakes, internationally, who are seeing and believing in Bitcoin?
I mean, it definitely feels easier. Like, I have a lot of friends who actually buy Bitcoin for their nieces and nephews, for their birthdays, things like that, which I thought was a good idea to help them build wealth. I do have one more question.
Sure.
What does the Bitcoin community want in terms of regulation, and what would be beneficial from the US government in terms of regulation?
Okay. So I think that's a multi-tiered answer right there. Your bare metal Bitcoiners who came in during the early days when maybe it was a little bit scarier to work with, to try to take care of. They came in because they were furious with the 2008 financial explosion, that whole great recession scenario where Wall Street was packaging up subprime mortgages and swippity swappeting and and then it literally torched our economy, and then none of them went to jail, but we all got wrecked. Like, those early stage Bitcoiners decided that they were done with the US dollar. They were done with fiat currency. They were done with the idea that a government can somehow make its own money, declare that it's valuable, and make us all work for it when they can print it for free. So a bare metal Bitcoiner, if I may be so bold as to speak on their behalf, would say, we don't care what regulations you do or do not pass, because Bitcoin is the money of the future, and nothing you do or do not do is going to stop Bitcoin from becoming the world's money. But the newer class of Bitcoiners, Chris and I are our class of 2024. I'm actually with the bare metal Bitcoiners. I'm like, I don't care what you do. But, all that Wall Street business, where Fidelity has a Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock has a Bitcoin ETF. Companies are starting to buy Bitcoin to store their value for later, right, when they really need it. They do want regulatory clarity because they don't want the US government to allow them to stack a bunch of sats for the future, only to have them come later and say, you've broken the law, you're in trouble. I don't know what specifically they want, Bellamy. I do know that they want clarity so that they can stack sats confidently without fear of retribution. And I think largely they want Bitcoin to be classified as a commodity like gold or wheat or coffee, so that they don't have to pay taxes for buying or selling Bitcoin, right? They don't want it to be regulated as a stock or a bond. Like, they don't want capital gains. They don't want it to be classified as an asset. They want it to be a commodity like gold or silver, because it's just a thing in the real world that I can exchange. It's not something that I should have to get taxed on and stuff like that. That's what I would say. So Bellamy, you're in business for yourself. And I know you work very hard for the money that you earn. Have you ever considered taking a piece of your earnings that you won't need for a little while and storing it in Bitcoin so that it can grow in value until you need it again?
Yes, and I think I am very active in brokerage accounts, E-Trade and whatnot. So that's why I've always been interested in it. But I think because of the more of a barrier to entry, which is why I haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you feel the effects of inflation, the impact of things getting more expensive? It seems like very sharply recently, maybe even in your clientele, this need to charge higher and higher prices for their retail items to account for how expensive everything is getting for them.
Yes, everything is about to get more expensive, and every single one of my clients is freaking out over tariffs. Mostly it's a cash flow issue of trying to pay for those tariffs now before you even sell the goods.
Okay. So tariffs could lead to things becoming more expensive. Do you feel like there are any other reasons why things seem to get more and more expensive as we get older?
Definitely inflation. And then I think just the labor of developing countries. I mean, the reason why things are so cheap is because most things are from China right now.
So inflation, yeah. So inflation is, a big nasty on our show. And that's a whole big discussion that we can maybe unpack later. But on this show, we've done enough research to see that inflation comes, we feel, entirely from the government printing more money. Short story long, Bellamy, the US dollar network is getting bigger every day because they're printing more of those dollars, which means that your hard-earned share of that network is getting smaller every day, right?
Yes.
But with Bitcoin's fixed supply at 21 million coins, whatever your share of the Bitcoin network today, so tomorrow, right? Your share of the network will never get smaller because of there being somehow more Bitcoin, right? So it's a way to protect yourself. And I say that to say, you as an entrepreneurista working your butt off to create value in today's economy are stacking up your savings and your operational and capital expenses in a form of money that is getting weaker and weaker and weaker every day because your share of the network is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There's more about Bitcoin than we'll ever be able to fit into a single chat about sats. So we do ask each of our guests if they'd be willing to come back in 9 months to give us an update on their Bitcoin baby. Would you be willing to do that for us, Bellamy?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay, sweet. Can't wait.
We're also going to ask you to do one other thing, which is, do you know any other ladies like yourself that you might be able to recommend to come on our show? Because one of the things that we're trying to solve for here is, why is Bitcoin so male dominated? It is. And what can we do to change that? And we feel like the more females that we speak with and publish, maybe we'll have more of an impact on that.
Yeah, I can definitely recommend.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was going to say, Chris and I, we know deep down in our innermost selves that women are superior to men, and that women categorically make better choices, categorically are smarter, and that women should run the world. Just like a beehive is broken up into a tiered system of women, and then the guys are just like dopes that fly around the hive a little bit, and we just hang out. It doesn't make any sense that women can be so much better than us and still using a form of money that is absolute garbage. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so, think about you women buzzing around a beehive, making honey as hard as you can while the dopey drones buzz around outside. And then you're storing your honey in a comb that is dripping out the bottom into the government's mouth. It just is unfair. You ladies should be able to take your honey, put it right in the comb, and have it still be there when you come back for it. So, number 99, Kristen, is in the Russian gym with the oxygen mask and the treadmill, and I need your help to dinosaur train out on the landscape, Rocky IV style. So all of your entrepreneurista women, and if you have any, if you know anybody who's like a wife, I'll take those too, right? So single women, wives, everything, girls.
We take moms, sisters, aunts, cousins,
nieces, grandmas.
I can do that.
All right. Bellamy's got her back.
All right, let's recap.
So let's recap the conversation with Bellamy. What a great conversation. I feel good. I feel good in my guts.
Yeah.
I just love that Bellamy has this open mind that is curious and willing to listen to two dudes yap about Bitcoin until you have some breakthroughs, because it's so important. It could be the most important choice in your life. What money is my money? Is it this thing that someone else can make for free, or is it this thing that you have to work for and is secure? We talked about Bellamy out there in San Diego. She is an entreprenista. She has a consultancy around retail, direct to consumer goods, very complex space, requires a lot of skill. Bellamy has it if your brand needs it. Very quickly, Bellamy, where can our Satillionaires go if they fit the bill for you and they want to interact with you online?
Yeah, I can be found on LinkedIn, where I post a lot of tips and tricks for operations for retail businesses. And then also my company is called Retailytics at retailytics.co.
Perfect. Okay. And we'll put those in our show notes. We talked about the fact that Bitcoin is something you've accessed through sanitized, packaged up options, specifically through Betterment. They had a high yield savings account for you. They gave you access to kind of like a crypto fund that includes Bitcoin, and you chipped in a little bit because you were curious. But has Bellamy stacked her own sats? No, because this concept of a wallet was nebulous. Isn't it scary? Don't people lose their wallets? Isn't there a guy in England who's like combing through a junkyard because if he finally finds his hard drive, he'll have like $40 million immediately? Well, the fact of the matter is early wallets were tricky and scary, but none of us had to deal with any of that. Some fine individual came along and created these wallets today that they're as easy to use as a banking app. You download it off of the Play Store, you sign up, you use it, you're done. Just make sure you store your 12-word seed phrase somewhere offline. Don't take a screenshot of it. Don't put it in your Apple Notes. Don't put it on a device, because North Korea can get on that device. Put it on a sheet of paper, put it somewhere safe. And as long as you have that, you're safe, no matter what happens. Then we talked about Bitcoin's perception, I believe, from like a global scale, right? And we went through the different types of countries from love to hate, and helped Bellamy see that it's not just 25 to 35-year-old males who are dorking out on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is for guys. Bitcoin is for girls. Bitcoin is for companies. Bitcoin is for entrepreneurs. Bitcoin is for nation states. Bitcoin is for friends. Bitcoin is for enemies. Bitcoin is for savers. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. And, we want people like Bellamy to get on board with Bitcoin, because it makes no sense to do as much work as you're doing only to have someone slowly pull it away from you through inflation and taxes and all that stuff. So really loved that conversation. I got pretty fired up.
That was great.
And thank you for that, Bellamy. I love getting fired up about Bitcoin because I love Bitcoin. We are going to give you a choice to stack up some sats or to get yourself some cash. But before we do, we're going to take a little brain break and taste some Ithaca hummus here in the studios. So we got some roasted red pepper hummus here today. What do we got here?
All right. So each episode at the very end of Sat Chats, we taste a different flavor of hummus based on what our guest chooses. And we are now looking for the perfect cracker or chip to sit alongside us. We've been holding tryouts nonstop for weeks. Today, we're going to try Everybody Eats gluten-free crackers. We use these. My team uses these out in Whole Foods when they do sampling events. They're excellent, excellent. Great story behind this company. I believe military founder really love what these guys are doing. So let's give it a taste.
All right, Fat Glob, here we go.
Oh. Those chia seeds in there. Good fiber. I drink a quarter cup of chia seeds every morning. So now maybe I can replace this and not have to chug that down.
Well, number one, Bellamy, thank you for choosing roasted red pepper. I think our most popular choice after 50 plus episodes is jalapeno lime, which is delicious. But every single flavor of Ithaca hummus is so flavorful. I'm just grateful to be able to dip into something else because the roasted red pepper is delicious.
It's awesome. It's
awesome. Delicious. And this everybody eat kind of has a nice curved flavor. I'm sorry, a curved shape.
Curved shape.
It's kind of like a little curved shape. Get that dip rolling, stands up, and has a nice, clean flavor. So where can Bellamy get Ithaca hummus and everybody eat down there in San Diego?
San Diego, both available in Whole Foods and Sprouts.
Yes, I have a Sprouts near me.
Next time you go to Sprouts, grab some roasted red pepper Ithaca hummus, and then come back to the crunch on it. Bonus points if you get way up in the mic like we did, and then you like tag us on whatever social media platform.
Ooh, that'd be great.
But come back to the comment section of your episode of Sat Chats and let us know what you think about the dip.
All right, let's make Bellamy an offer because she deserves this quite possibly more than any other guest ever. I loved this show. This was so good. Thank you. All right, Bellamy. So here on Sat Chats, we believe in value for value. You were very generous with your time, your attention, your thoughtful questions today here with us. So as a small piece of our appreciation, we would like to offer you your choice between $50 in stinky old 50 USD style or $50 worth of Bitcoin, which, by the way, I look at the Clark Moody Bitcoin dashboard behind me, and I can see that the exchange rate for Bitcoin is $78,310 for one Bitcoin right now. That translates into 1,277 sats per dollar. Multiply that by 50, and you get 63,850 sats, which we will zap you directly into your own wallet so you can begin your self-custody journey with us. What's it going to be?
I think I'm going to do the wallet.
Yes, sir. Oh, 63,850 sats for Bellamy. Ain't in nobody else's fridge. Those are going to be in Bellamy's fridge right there on her smartphone. Those are going to be yours. I feel so listened to. I feel so
seen.
Yeah, I feel so seen. Bellamy, you make me feel so seen and heard. Man, I feel so good.
Yeah.
So Bellamy, thank you so much for coming on the show. You bring our scoreboard to, what is it, 48?
48.
And 48 guests who stacked their sats, 5 who need a little bit more time. And we appreciate you helping us keep that streak alive today. This is the part of the show where we ask you satillionaires watching and listening for your value in exchange for ours. Smash the subscribe button. There are only 400 some odd slots left for our million sats giveaway. Make sure you are among the first 999 plus one subscribers on YouTube. You'll also be adding your weight to our efforts to unlock a live show Friday mornings at 10 a.m. 5 stars on Spotify if you're like our boy number 44, Evan. You can support our show directly. Our on-chain Bitcoin and Lightning addresses are in the show notes, along with the links to Bellamy's Retaillytics. If you already know what I'm talking about and you want to zap us, it's satchats@getalby.com. Remember, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Also, our guests' views are their own. Thanks so much, Satillionaires. We'll see you on the next one.